Let's jump right into the tutorial. I'm using some micellar water from Garnier Fructis to cleanse the skin of any impurities and dirt. You definitely want to do this first as a form of skin prep to make sure that makeup isn't sitting on top of dirty skin. And I do this with a cotton pad just so I can make sure I'm really rubbing it in and getting off all of that dead skin. I'm going in with the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow PHA and BHA Pore-Tight Toner. I really like this because it hydrates the client's skin while also tightening those pores, and it's like a serum and a toner in one, so I can actually pinpoint the dryness on the skin underneath the skin, clean out those pores while also hydrating the top of the skin layer. The last step of skin prep is the Embryolisse moisturizing cream and makeup base. I use this as a moisturizer and a primer. This is great for dry skin. When I say great, I mean wonderful. It's going to hydrate the skin, and it's also going to make sure that makeup adheres right to the skin base, so you do not need to use any primer with this product. Cream based products are great for dry skin. Don't forget about those under eyes. You want to make sure they are moisturized with the CeraVe eye cream. Again, cream products are great for dry skin, so this is great for all skin types underneath the eyes because everybody's under eye is a little bit dry. I like to use this to make sure my concealer does not crease and that the eyes are well moisturized throughout the service. Definitely make sure you do your skin prep first so those products can soak into the skin and nourish the skin while you are doing something like the eyebrows. Definitely make sure you do a lip treatment also. My client already had on some Blistex, so I had to skip that step. For the base, I like to do the blush first, and I'm using the e.l.f. Putty blush in the color Tahiti. I like this blush because it is very subtle and you can really build it on. So if a client doesn't really like blush, you can just use a little bit, and if they really like it, you could just go crazy with it. I'm using a Real Techniques brush to just softly pat that into the skin and make sure that she is going to be nice and pink. Of course, contour is next. I'm using the black opal foundation stick in the shade that I think it is warm almond. I have a previous video that I made this kit with on my YouTube channel, so I'll go ahead and link it. But I like to put that right above the cheekbone, so when I spread out the product, it'll melt right into the skin and it'll land on the cheekbone, on the sides of the nose to snatch the nose and make the nose look more narrow. That is what contour is for, to add contour and shape to the face. Those are the shadows. And then I'm going to use a little bit on the forehead just to shorten the forehead up a little bit and to make everything look cohesive. Maybelline Fit Me foundation. For the foundation shade, I use 330 and 334, which would be a neutral shade and a warm shade, which as you can see melted right into her skin tone. I like to put the foundation in those empty areas and then go over the top of the eyebrows. I have not touched her eyebrows just yet, and I just put the foundation on the bottom of the cheek, the forehead, and a little bit on the chin. Milani Cosmetics Perfecting Conceal Concealer in shades 140 and 150 for concealer. I use shade 150 on the outer edge of the eye, forehead, bridge of the nose, chin, and above the lip. And then you'll see me going in with shade 140 right in that inner corner as my brighten shade. I like using this concealer when my client doesn't have really bad under eyes and dark circles or anything. She doesn't have a lot of discoloration on her face, so this is the perfect lightweight concealer. For something more heavy duty, I would use a Tarte Shape Tape or a Too Faced, but as I said, she doesn't really have that many blemishes, and this is a soft makeup look, so I wanted to keep it very soft and subtle. I'm spraying her face down with the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I like doing this so that way the products can blend together easily, and it makes it a little bit more malleable, so it makes the products more wet again. Going in with the Real Techniques foundation brush to just pat in that foundation. You want to make sure you pat and you do not drag. And you see I'm just taking my time going over all of the places in her face where I put the foundation to make sure it's not patchy or spotty or anything. For the forehead, I blend up into the concealer. You'll see me patting the sides of the face to make sure about that eyebrow is done. For contour, you'll see me blending upward, and that is to make sure I am lifting the face. I'm using a smaller brush to do this because I hate when I use a bigger brush and the contour just gets everywhere, and now I have to do all of this unnecessary sculpting with my brushes, when if I would have used a smaller brush, everything would have been more precise and I can actually save myself more time with blending. You'll see me switching in between the foundation brush and the contour brush, and that is just to make sure my products are blending together smoothly. If you let a liquid product dry down too long, it will not move anymore. And even if you use that little setting spray or a hydrating mist or anything like that, it will not make it move. So for the nose contour, I blend it up into the eyebrow and on the eye, and that just creates a more natural contour feature. Like, it just makes it blend so much smoother, because if you just leave the line right where the eye stops, it's gonna look really choppy. So for contour, I really just pat in the product. Going over the blush again just to make sure it is blended in with my contour shade that I put down. I really like to make sure both of those two are doing like a strawberry chocolate milk type of feel before I blend out the concealer, because the concealer is going to blend into the blush now. And I'm using a powder puff to do this. I no longer use a brush. Brushes soak up all of the product, and beauty blenders do too. I don't know why people would think to use a beauty blender. Like, to each his own, but sponges soak up water, and that is what a liquid is. It's water. So I really like to just use a dry powder puff to just pat in the product. It doesn't soak it all up, and it just makes the most beautiful blend. Like, look at that. It's just blending right into the blush. That is what I'm looking for. And I like to blend it on top of the eye just to make sure it's not like that sharp line going in around the mouth and on the chin. I really like to make sure I pat around that mouth, because as a melanated woman, we know we get hyperpigmentation around our mouth, which is a little bit of darkness. So I always make sure to put a little bit of the concealer around the mouth. And then of course on the forehead and along the nose, I just pat it right exactly where the product is, and just doing the same thing on the other side. Going in under the eyes with the same powder puff, I just pat it right in place, and I take it a little bit along the edge of the nose to make sure that contour is snatched. Using the One Side setting powder in the shade Translucent, I'm snatching underneath that cheekbone, the chin, around the mouth, under the eyes, nose, and forehead, the exact same places that I concealed. I like this powder for my clients if they are going to be going out and like going out dancing, out with their friends, drinking or anything like that, birthdays, baby showers, because as you sweat, it's going to catch and mattify all of those oils. I would not recommend this for super dry skin though, because this is a mattifying powder, and if a client already doesn't have a lot of oils in their face, it's just going to make your skin look really dry and cracked and flaky. So this is specifically for those going out events, for that heavy duty coverage when later on you're going to be sweating. I'm using the Black Radiance Contour Palette in the shade Light. I really like this palette because it has a sculpt, a contour, and a highlight shade. Right now I am using the sculpt shade because it looks a little bit more darker and bronzy for my client. My favorite blush, Milani Rose blush in the color Tea Rose. Putting that on just to make sure I set that e.l.f. putty blush that I put down. Always set your liquids with the powder. I like to go over the face with the contour brush just to make sure there's no ashiness from where I put that setting powder at. I'm gonna go over this with the Sephora Micro Smooth powder after this, but first I like to get rid of that white cast before I put down a foundation powder. I've really been loving the Sephora Micro Smooth powder. I just started using it, I'm late, but I really like that it gets rid of the white cast from the setting powder, and it just ties together the whole look to look cohesive. It's a nice skin color shade. Right now it's on sale for $10, so I bought a bunch of them, and it's just make it look so hydrating and smooth and flawless, especially if your client has dry skin. I definitely recommend this. It's so bomb. For soft glam makeup looks, I just use the contour shade as a eyeshadow, and that just makes everything look more tied together. So it's like the same brown on the nose area, the cheek area, and the forehead, and it just makes it look so cohesive, soft, and pretty. Sometimes I do add a little of the glitter on top, which is a little highlight from that same palette, but this time I chose not to. Doesn't really matter, it still look bomb. I finally learned how to do the black under eyeliner with a gel pot. So first I use a lip applicator in the black gel pot from Maybelline, and I coated it all over the lip applicator. I then used eyeshadow, black eyeshadow on top of that gel. So when I'm lining it, it just lasts all night. So it's like a gel and an eyeshadow formula that I did. And the lip applicator was so perfect because it was so precise. I used the triangle powder puff to pull the eye down, and then I just lined the bottom of the eye with that applicator. Oh my god, I was getting so excited. I was trying not to poke her in the eye. I'm like, girl, this is coming out so good. Again, my favorite mascara, Maybelline Sky High Mascara. I love this because it elongates the lashes, makes them look dark without them looking all spidery, and the mascara does not fall off into the eye. This is the waterproof formula, which I do love. I find it though when I do not use waterproof, it flakes more. So that waterproof formula is definitely key. During skin prep, I did not show it, but I used some Got To Be Glue gel on her eyebrows just to slick them down. I'm now going in with the Morphe eyebrow pencil in the shade Java, just to make sure her eyebrows are nice and filled in. They were kind of sparse in some areas, so I definitely made sure to fill that part in. And I'm going to be brushing them out to make sure they are nice and fluffy and that they do not stand out too much. I've also been working on making sure the tail of the eyebrow is not too long. It needs to stop exactly where the front part of the eyebrow begins. So that is something that I am working on. Concealing her brows with the same shade that I used to conceal under her eyes. This one is 150, and I'm just using a Wet n Wild concealer brush to do this. I like to take my time when I do this process. After this, I'm going to be blending it out, and then I'm going to add more eyeshadow to make sure that the concealer and eyeshadow blend together seamlessly. For lips, I'm actually lining her lips with the NYX eye pencil in the shade dark brown. I really like this brown because it is a true brown, so it's like a nice neutral shade. It's not too warm where it's like that weird purple red color, and it's not too brown where it's too dark. And then the consistency is just right for the lips, and I just like to take my time when lining the lips, especially for fuller lips, to make sure I'm not overlining the lips and making them look too large. For the lippy, I'm using that same e.l.f. Putty blush in the shade Tahiti. I don't really have a lot of nice pink lipstick or liquid lipstick shades, so I just used the blush and it worked out perfectly, and I'm just blending it in with the brush. And then going on top of it, I'm using the NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Fortune Cookie. This made the perfect combo for a new lip for her, especially with the event that she was going to. It just was so beautiful with the soft makeup. I popped on some lashes and finished off the look with the Kiss NY Pro Natural Finish Setting Spray for a light mist on the face to make sure she is not too caked up. And ta-da! The finished makeup look came out beautifully.